around the year 2005, I think it was, when I began to develop a pattern recognition with the narcopaths that were around me. And it was on two fronts when I began to notice this. It was on the personal level, the people that were around me, and it was also on the society level. I was noticing that things just didn't fit together right. You know, we've talked about narcissism ad nauseum. I think a lot of us understand what it is, what we do. I'm one of the few on these platforms that have ever given the indication of fighting back. But that's not what I'm talking about today. We are at a point where the society, this disease, this narcissism, this egopathy, psychopathy, it's not even hiding anymore. And it's starting to have, we're right at the beginning. This is a very, I want to say this is important, but it's nothing really new. We are at the precipice of something very big. Things are at the beginning of the meltdown phase. When I first began speaking about narcissism, I left this out completely, and I left it out on purpose because it was, you can't, you have to focus a little bit. You can't just be all over the place all the time. But the focus is changing, and it's changing rapidly in the way I see things because there's so many people that are suffering at the hands of these monsters. When society makes it okay for you to behave in certain ways, it gives permission to the narcissists around you. There are times in history where people weren't able to get away with the behavior that they do because the consensus, written and unwritten, was that you just don't do certain things to certain people at certain times. We have agreements. Some of them, like I said, are verbal and some are not. But the general way that we behaved was in an unselfish way. You have to have enough self-interest to feed yourself and clothe yourself and have a job if you can find one today. But the egopathy it's at a critical level now is beginning. I think we're I mean this in all, I don't want to say sincerity. People throw terms around like, I mean this in all, I mean this, that we're at the beginning of the end, but I mean that. I think we really are at the beginning of the end. These monsters aren't hiding. It's not a political party. It's on both sides. If you think it's right or left, then you're still, and you need to re-examine what's going on. So what I'm about to tell you can get you in a lot of trouble in a lot of countries. Even here, even though they say that we have free speech, I don't think we do. If you try to say something that's too out of line, they'll just cancel you, and they can. What I'm telling you to do is to become like I was when the divorce papers were first served on me in 2010. I didn't do anything illegal. I wasn't going to do anything illegal. I was going to play the game the way they played the game. I was going to defend myself and fight back, and I learned how. There's a whole lot of videos about that from years ago. But what I did was I became Un-Cooperative. And I think we're at that point now. I think that we're at the point that to cooperate anymore could be even certain death for some people. Before I continue. I want to thank everybody for showing up, even if, I don't know if anyone is going to come up and see this, because I just don't put, videos out any longer or very often. And there's so many people making content that I say, like, if you're hanging out with me, I really do appreciate it. So I forgot to say that at the beginning. But we need to become uncooperative in our own demise. And how are we going to do that? It's not going to be easy. We're going to have to adjust. They have made these power plays behind our backs, under our noses. There are groups who have subverted governments to get to where we're at. They're making it illegal to discuss certain things in certain countries. And I'm not going to cooperate anymore. Okay. I became very uncooperative when I was still in the gray area of understanding NPD or cluster B personality disorders. I was still a very agreeable person. If you told me, oh, we need to do this, I would still do it. Then I started to realize, I'm talking about if the narcissist was making any sort of suggestions or plans. Then I realized it didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter how agreeable I was. It didn't matter either way. So if it didn't matter either way, then why would I continue to cooperate? And I quit. I remember the day that I quit cooperating when I was told that we were going to go clean the school, we were going to go do this, and then you're going to go see the psychiatrist. And then I go, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not doing this anymore. And the results are still the same. So why are we bashing our head on the wall trying to continue to appease people who can't be appeased? You can't reason with the unreasonable. And these people are cloaked. They're cloaked in non-government organizations. They're cloaked in the government organizations. They're cloaked in black robes and blue uniforms. And I'm not telling you to go do anything illegal. Don't do anything that's going to jeopardize you, but you only cooperate as much as you have to. You have the right to remain silent. People don't. You had the right to remain silent. You just didn't have the ability. You have people that are making decisions in your family's life, not just family court, but all the courts. People who are making decisions that are based on their ethnic group against you. They're not upholding the law. Don't cooperate. I think for the most part, I've seen that there are a lot of peace officers that are probably start off with good intentions, and then you see the ones that, they lose their temper after babysitting the public for so long and strike back out at someone. And plus, they're not usually the sharpest knives in the drawer or the brightest bulbs in the box. And they're the ones that are supposedly enforcing laws. You have the right to remain silent. Stop cooperating. We have governments who hate our guts, who are extracting the money that they print to fight wars that nobody wants. Nobody wants. Become uncooperative. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how you do these things without going to jail. But I don't feel like one more of my tax dollars should go anywhere until they clean up what's going on, and I don't think that's going to happen. You want to talk about health care too? You want to talk about what they're doing here? You have you, and you have health care. You have something wrong, and you go get it taken care of. And then in between, you have these psychos that call it health care that cost all of this money in between when you could have just had your problem solved. They insert themselves into everything. There's not one aspect in our lives that these psychos haven't infiltrated. become uncooperative. There's no other way to do it. There's people who are educated, articulate, well-behaved, and they're living in their cars, if they even have a car. And it's everywhere. These people are becoming homeless because they cooperated, because they did all the right things. We need to become uncooperative. Just like I became uncooperative and got my life back from the narcopath, we need to become uncooperative with these. It's just the same thing anyway. They're going to hold you to it anyway. So why are we continuing to, maybe out of fear? Well, I'm sure it's out of fear, out of ignorance. We don't really know how these laws work. I've watched a lot of this. I'm not going to breach that like I know what I'm talking about, but there's all this maritime law and capital letters on your name and social security numbers and how they buy and sell you as a commodity and that you don't even own yourself. It's a big lie. It's a big trick. It's a big gaslighting is what it is. I'm not saying for us to break the law. I'm not saying that. I mean, I thought if it would help, I would say it. You got to be careful too. Things on the internet tend to stay on the internet. And anything you say can and will be used against you. I am saying to become uncooperative. Remember that word. I've said it a lot today for a reason. I am not going to participate in my own demise. I don't know how many more of this content that I'm going to make. If I do get discussions going on it and it seems to serve a purpose other than, me just coming up to, see you every month or even every 6 months and put something out that we talk about. But I'm disgusted with the way our leaders are handling things. They're not representing us. Data centers, God, I mean, the list just keeps going. The stuff that you see, the list just keeps going on, and how they destroy towns' infrastructures, and how the electricity becomes unaffordable, and drying up water sources for this shit. And I don't know how to stop it. I'm smart enough to see it, but I'm not smart enough to fix it, which is really frustrating. But I'm not going to participate in it anymore, and I'm hoping that you don't either. I didn't think it was going to get really this bad. We really are, without trying to sound dramatic, we really are at the beginning of the end. Either we do something about this, or we're looking at probably some of the darkest times in known history with these psychopaths running things, the way they've mixed things up and ruined people's countries and opened their borders and dumping people who aren't compatible into other people's communities. They do it on purpose, and then they tell you that you need to be tolerant. Again, they want you to tolerate your own demise. I hope this gets you thinking today, because if I do decide to make some content, some more, because there's so many people talking about so many things. If you're hanging out with me for even a minute, I do appreciate it. And we want to be careful what we say. Even the people on this platform probably don't like me or anyone coming close to these topics. So, if it's a lose-lose situation, why even try? Just don't cooperate any more than you have to. Is kind of what I'm saying. It worked with the narcissist, but if we do it, collectively, then there's really not a lot they can do. Isn't that right? So, over a 2% T-tax. Think about that for a minute as well. I wish you health, happiness, prosperity, freedom from suffering, and that you live your lives with ease.